welcome back to the channel. This is your host, Christopher Corey with Shadows Techland. So, not the video that I exactly wanted to be creating today, but wanted to go over a project that I was working on over the weekend that definitely did not go as expected. So, let's roll back everything first of all. So basically what I was trying to do was I was trying to create a standalone system station, if you want to call it, to monitor basically my services. So Unraid, particular using Grafana, which I've already set up in the previous video, and also Plex to be able to monitor how many streams that I have going, things of that nature. So I had an extra monitor laying around, keyboard and mouse, everything's fine with that. And then I decided to pick up a Pi3. Well, let me tell you, that definitely didn't go as expected. I figured Pi3, not doing as much research as I should have. That's on me at this point in time and why I wasted so much time, but I digress. So basically, I figured a Pi3 would be enough in order to go ahead and set that up. Well, Grafana, being what it is, it's constantly pulling stats and it's somewhat resource intensive, I guess you could call it, because of what it does. Then of course you've got Plex monitoring, which that's really not much of anything. But Grafana, I mean, it updates every 5 minutes and definitely goes through all the stats, so there's a lot there. So basically, for this project, obviously my requirements is it needed to be a standalone system and not necessarily at my desk, and also have its own dedicated power. That way I can go ahead and have it on, I can look at it, I can view it, and not have to be at my desk, be able to be anywhere, and be able to set that up. So what you would need for parts with that is obviously the Raspberry Pis. You need an SD card. You're going to need an SD card reader of some sort, so whether it's a reader built into your desktop, laptop, whatever the case may be, or an external one, you'll need that, and then either a monitor or a TV, something that has preferably HDMI, due to the fact that that's really the only video input that eyes have. So unless you do sort of like external, like touchscreen display or something of that nature, and then you'll need a keyboard and mouse, obviously, for initial setup once you install the operating system and put it into. So software that I was trying to use, of course, was the newest Rasbian, which is now called RAsbian Buster, and currently the version that I was using was the 2025-27. And there's a couple ways that you can install it. Either you can get one of the kits that includes nodes, which is what I was originally trying to do, but that did not go well at all. One of the things that I ran into, well, quite a few of the problems I ran into, first of all, the first problem that I ran into, if you have, this is a Wi-Fi only device, so it doesn't have any LAN. Now, if your wireless network is set up with a hidden SSID, it is not able to find it, and then you have to manually go through the configuration, and you have to go into the file and change it. Not a problem, provided you have a decent understanding of Linux. I'm not saying you have to be an expert, but you kind of have to know what you're editing, and if you do it incorrectly, then you'll screw everything up. Well, unfortunately, I did that, and even the fact of the hardware that is in the Zero, it is a slow install, and to reinstall Rasbian is a good probably 20 to 25 minutes just to write the operating system to the SD card, because it is a very slow device. Next thing I ran into is, once again, it is an extremely slow device. I would not recommend using Rasbian. You might want to do Debian by itself, possibly, or something not graphically intensive, like an operating system with a web browser trying to update stats constantly. It's not going to work so well unless you go through and strip it a lot, and you're just going to run into performance issues. So let's go ahead and take a look at the difference, and hopefully you guys can avoid the mistakes that I made not doing enough research, so now I'm going to have to buy another one. another project, which I will get to shortly. So let's take a look at the differences here, and you'll see why I ran into a problem. So Pi0 is only a single core compared to the Pi3 B+, which is currently what I have. Both that is a 4-core, when the 0 is a 1-core. They both have video core 4 for the GPU. Then they are, the 0 is 1 gigahertz, and then the i3 is 1.4 gigahertz compared to the 0, which has 512 RAM, compared to 3, which has 1 gig DDR2, so pretty big difference as well. And then, of course, only one USB, and then it's got micro OTG if you wanted to do like an external display screen or something of that nature. And then, of course, the Pi0 is only wireless, when the Pi3 has Bluetooth, wireless, and LAN. The 0 does have Bluetooth as well, so that's pretty nice. But you can see why I ran into issues. It's just not fast enough to do anything CPU intensive. The 0 only has a 1 gigahertz processor, 512 RAM, compared to gig of RAM and a 4-core processor with the Pi3, which is currently what I'm using. When I went ahead and did the reinstalls of the operating system, I used a program called Etcher. I will leave a link in the description, and also a link for Rasbian on where you can go and get the downloads for that. Etcher is pretty self-explanatory. You install it if you're on Windows. From Linux or Mac, they do have an install for that as well. So on Windows, basically, you would go ahead. I'll just bring that up for you. So you bring up Etcher. Don't worry about this error if that comes up. You select image. I already have the image right here. Then you would select your drive, and it would go on its merry way, and it would do an install. Now, keep in mind, just as a disclaimer, whatever image that you are using and whatever SD card you are using, it will completely format it, so make sure you're using SD card. Don't need, or you already have the data backed up from, so just make sure you do that in mind. Doing the install for the 0, like I said, was about a 20+ minute install, just because it's too slow of a device. On the Pi3, I think it was installed and at the configuration screen in 20 minutes. Excuse me, for the 3, it was about 10 minutes or so. To do the configuration, so the install, writing it, figuring it, and getting the way I wanted, probably up and running in 20-25 minutes. So basically what will happen is, like I said, you'll do the install through Etcher. It will install the operating system and write it to the SD card. Once that is completed and it's validated, you'll take the SD card out, you'll put it into your Pi device, and it will boot into Rasbian. Then that will do a first-time initial configuration, so that will be location, what geographic location basically you're in, what language that you want the device to use, and what keyboard language. Maybe, and you'll install that. You're going to ask for a password for the device. Make sure you write that down. And then one thing you might want to do as well, of course this is personal preference, is you might want to install SSH. If you are going to be running this headless, I would definitely recommend doing that. For this project, I have a dedicated monitor, which I will leave a picture at the end of this video, so you can basically what I have set up. I do still need clean it up and basically just make it look more pretty. And once I did the installation and the configuration, I just brought up a couple websites which I will show you. That went ahead and will monitor Grafana for my Unraid server with all the stats, so network connectivity, health, disk space, etc. For plex, and that's running through the sequential Docker container. Have all the unraid stuff set up for monitoring through Docker containers as well, which I do have previously in the description. So that has been taken care of basically at this point. So basically, long story short, as a review, Pi3, it's not a bad device. However, I would definitely not recommend using it for any tasks that require a lot of graphical usage. It's probably would be good for maybe like Pi-hole for ad blocking, maybe a MAME station because you are using older generation games, so the requirements aren't quite as heavy as they are nowadays. When it comes to anything graphical intensive like running websites that are constantly updating, I wouldn't recommend doing it. I mean, just to boot into the operating system, it takes several minutes. The Pi3 wireless is fairly slow. Yeah, you could probably get a LAN adapter and run that way. And then on top of that, just basically to load Chrome, even after you remove all of the extensions or various browsers, it's a good 5 minutes just to get everything loaded up. It's just not worth your time. I would recommend probably for anything GUI intensive, like running full Rasbian, probably a Pi2 or higher. Personally, probably 3, which is what I'm running. If you have any other questions or concerns, definitely feel free to chat to me on my social media. I do have a Discord community, and I do on Twitch on Wednesday, Friday. Have a good one, guys.